Let me tell you something, people. In all my years sitting behind that bench, I have seen some truly unbelievable things. I have seen liars, cheaters, con artists, and every flavor of entitled brat this country has to offer. But this case right here, this one made my blood boil in a way I hadn't felt in a long, long time. This army chief's son, he walked into my courtroom waving his father's badge like it was some kind of golden ticket, like it was a magic wand that could make all his problems disappear. And let me tell you, the sentence I handed down that day, it shocked that courtroom into absolute silence. So sit down, pay attention, and listen, because this story, it's one you will never forget. Imagine this, just imagine this for a moment. A young man walks into a courtroom, my courtroom, thinking his father's rank makes him bulletproof. He strides through those double doors with the confidence of someone who has never, not once in his entire life, heard the word no. Someone who genuinely believes that stars on a uniform shine bright enough to blind justice itself. Well, let me tell you something, sweetheart. Justice isn't blind because of your father's stars. Justice is blind because it doesn't care who your father is. And in just 10 minutes, this young man was about to learn that privilege doesn't translate, that borrowed authority crumbles under the weight of real accountability, and that some judges like me don't care if your father commands 50,000 soldiers or 50 million. This is the story of Derek Hartwell, 22 years old, son of a 4-star general. And the exact moment, his entire world came crashing down in the most public way imaginable. The date is Thursday, March 16th. The location, Providence Municipal Courthouse, courtroom number 3, my courtroom. The time is 9:45 in the morning. The bailiff's voice cuts through the quiet murmur of the gallery. The state of Rhode Island versus Derek James Hartwell. And the doors open and in walks. Oh, let me tell you what walks in. A young man who looks like he's dressed for a photo shoot rather than a court appearance. Are you kidding me? He's wearing a military surplus jacket, the kind with patches and insignias that he absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt did not earn. Hanging around his neck are dog tags, vintage, worn his father's dog tags from decades ago, treated like their designer jewelry. His boots? $400 Oakley tactical models, polished to a mirror shine. And the swagger on this kid. He walks with the kind of swagger that announces to everyone in that room that he thinks he's different, that he's special, that the rules that bend around normal people somehow just curve right around him entirely. Now, I'm sitting at my bench, my reading glasses perched on my nose. I'm reviewing a file that is thicker than it should ever be for someone so young. I look up as Derek approaches the defendant's stable, and I keep my expression neutral, patient, calm. But let me tell you, it was the calm before a storm that this boy had absolutely no idea was coming. Good morning, Mr. Hartwell, I say. My voice is steady, professional, giving him every chance in the world to do the right thing. And does he stand straighter? No. Does he remove the sunglasses he's still wearing indoors? Absolutely not. He glances up briefly, mind you, and responds with, yeah, not your honor, not ma'am, just, yeah, like he's acknowledging someone who asked him the time on a street corner. Oh, I noticed immediately. My eyes narrowed, but I didn't react. Not yet. You see, people, I'm a veteran of entitled defendants. And I have learned over many, many years that patience is a weapon sharper than any gavel strike. The bailiff reads the charges, and let me tell you, the list is longer than little Derek expected. Reckless driving 85 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone near the gates of Fort Bragg. Fleeing a military police checkpoint without stopping for authorized personnel. Threatening a federal officer with career retaliation and abuse of authority. Unauthorized display of military credentials belonging to another individual. And attempting to impersonate an active duty officer to evade lawful detention. Each charge, each one, is a brick in a wall that's closing in on Derek faster than he realizes. But does he look concerned? Does he show an ounce of remorse? No. He shifts his weight from one expensive boot to the other, arms crossed over his chest, projecting boredom. And he's still wearing those sunglasses. I set down the file. I fold my hands. Mr. Hartwell, Do you understand the charges that have been read against you? And this kid gives me a shrug, a lazy roll of his shoulders. Yeah, I get it. This is all blown way out of proportion. I was late for a meeting and some overzealous MP decided to make an example out of me. My gaze doesn't waver, not for a second. Mr. Hartwell, remove your sunglasses when you're addressing this court. He sighs, like I'm asking him to do something incredibly unreasonable. But he slowly, oh so slowly, pulls the sunglasses off and hangs them from the collar of his jacket, and I see his eyes now, sharp, calculating, the eyes of someone who has spent his entire life figuring out how to get what he wants. This is ridiculous, he mutters, just loud enough for the microphone to catch it. I shouldn't even be here, and that's when I lean forward, just slightly. But you are here, Mr. Hartwell. And unless you want me to add contempt of court to your growing list of charges, I suggest you adjust your attitude and show this proceeding the respect it deserves. His jaw tightens, but he doesn't respond. He's smart enough to recognize danger when it's staring him in the face, even if he doesn't fully respect it. Not yet. Now, I open the file again, and I start reading aloud, because people need to understand this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. Mr. Hartwell, this isn't your first interaction with law enforcement on or near military installations. I see here that you received a written warning 8 months ago for parking in a reserved space at Fort Carson and refusing to move your vehicle until base security was called. You told the officer, and I quote, "My father is General Hartwell, which means this spot is now mine." Is that accurate? Derek shifts uncomfortably. Finally, a crack. That was a misunderstanding. They didn't have the spot clearly marked. A misunderstanding. I flip another page. And 3 months ago, you were escorted off the campus of West Point after attempting to use your father's credentials to gain access to a restricted officers event you weren't invited to. You told the security personnel that your family status entitled you to be anywhere your father's rank allowed. Correct? His confident facade cracks just slightly now, and then he says something that makes my blood pressure spike. Look, Your Honor, I think you're missing the bigger picture here. My father has spent 35 years serving this country. He sacrificed everything for the military. That means something. It should mean something. I close the file with a sharp snap that echoes through that courtroom. Mr. Hartwell, your father's service means everything to the people who serve under him, to the country he protects, to the values he represents. But what it doesn't mean, what it will never mean, is that you get to coast through life on his achievements, using his rank as a free pass to do whatever you want. Derek's face hardens. With respect, Your Honor, you don't understand how the military works. There are hierarchies, structures, unspoken rules about respect and recognition, and my voice. It cuts through his excuse like a blade through paper. I understand perfectly, Mr. Hartwell. What you're describing isn't respect. It's nepotism. It's corruption. And it ends right here, right now, in my courtroom. Now, I gesture to the prosecution table, and the assistant district attorney stands, holding a tablet and a folder thick with documents. Your Honor, we have body camera footage from the incident in question, recorded by Military Police Sergeant Elena Vasquez on the night of March 8th at approximately 11:30 p.m. We request permission to play this footage for the court. I nod, permission granted. Let's see exactly what happened that night. The courtroom lights dim slightly. A large monitor flickers to life. The time stamp in the corner reads March 8th, 11:27 p.m. and what I see on that screen. Let me tell you, people, it makes my stomach turn. The camera shows a dark road just outside the main gates of Fort Bragg, street lights casting long shadows across the pavement, and in the distance, a black sports car weaving erratically through light traffic. Engine roaring loud enough to be picked up on the audio feed. The patrol car's dashboard camera captures the chase as Sergeant Vasquez activates her lights and sirens. Does the sports car slow down? Does it pull over like any law-abiding citizen would? No. It accelerates. It blows through a stop sign near the base perimeter, and let me tell you where that stop sign is. It's in an area where military families live, where children ride bikes during the day, where soldiers walk home after long shifts. The car finally screeches to a stop in a poorly lit parking area near a row of closed shops. The body camera footage switches to Sergeant Vasquez's perspective as she approaches the vehicle. Her hand is resting near her sidearm. Her voice is calm and professional despite the adrenaline of the chase. License, registration, and military. "ID, please," she says through the driver's side window, and Derek's face appears on screen, illuminated by her flashlight and his expression. It's not concern. It's not remorse. It's pure, unadulterated annoyance. "Military ID?" He scoffs. "I'm not military, I'm family. That's better. Can you believe that? That's better." Like being someone's son is somehow a higher rank than actually serving. Sergeant Vasquez maintains her composure, and God bless her for that. "Sir, you were traveling 85 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone. This area is residential. There are children who live here, and do you know what this entitled, spoiled young man says?" He leans back in his seat, his voice dripping with condescension. "Children should learn to stay indoors after dark. I had the right of way," the courtroom gasps, audibly. Even Derek's own lawyer closes his eyes and pinches the bridge of his nose. And my expression? I keep it neutral, but my knuckles are white as I grip my pen. Children should stay indoors. In a free country. On a military base where their parents serve. On screen, Sergeant Vasquez continues professional as ever. "Sir, the right-of-way doesn't include reckless driving and evading a military police checkpoint. I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." But Derek doesn't move. Oh no. Instead, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a leather credential case. He flips it open, holding it up to the camera so the badge and identification card are clearly visible. "See this? General Marcus Hartwell, Chief of Staff. Your commanding officer's commanding officer's commanding officer." "You really want to write me up, Sergeant?" And the way he says her rank. Sergeant, like it's an insult. Like he's reminding her of how far below him she stands in some imaginary hierarchy that exists only in his delusional mind. Sergeant Vasquez's voice remains steady, but there's an edge to it now, and rightfully so. "Sir, those credentials don't belong to you. That's my father's badge." Derek fires back, which means it's my badge. "Family privilege. It's a thing. Look it up. Family privilege. Let me tell you something, people. There is no such thing as family privilege when it comes to the law. Your father's badge is your father's badge. Period. End of story." Next. Sergeant Vasquez takes a measured breath on the footage. Her professionalism never wavers despite the clear provocation. "Sir, I'm going to issue you a citation for reckless driving and failure to stop at a military checkpoint," and that's when the mask comes off. Derek's expression transforms in an instant from smug confidence to cold, calculated menace. His voice drops lower, more threatening. "Sergeant Vasquez, is it? Let me explain something to you. My father didn't spend 3 decades building his career so that some overachiever with a badge could harass his family. You write that citation and I guarantee you'll spend the rest of your very short military police career reviewing inventory sheets in some supply depot in Alaska. Ever been to Elmendorf Air Force Base in January? It's minus 40 degrees and you'll have plenty of time to think about this moment. I'm sitting on my bench watching this footage and I am seething. This boy, this child, is threatening a decorated service member's entire career because she had the audacity to do her job. The courtroom falls into complete silence. Even my court reporter stops typing, momentarily shocked by the brazenness of the threat captured on camera. But Sergeant Vasquez? Her voice remains controlled. The camera picks up the slight tension in her shoulders, but she holds firm. "Are you threatening me, sir?" And Derek laughs. A sharp, ugly sound. "I'm not threatening you. I'm educating you about reality. One phone call from my father and you're done. Or you could tear up that citation right now. We both forget this happened and you continue your little career without any complications. Your choice, Sergeant, your choice." As if she's the one who did something wrong. As if she should be the one apologizing. The nerve. The absolute nerve. But here's where this story gets good, people. Because Sergeant Vasquez, she doesn't back down. Not for 1 second. To her enormous credit, she proceeds to write that citation despite every threat this entitled little bully throws at her. But Derek's anger escalates. He steps out of the car without being asked. He gets into her personal space, his voice rising. "You're making a huge mistake. My father didn't build a 35-year career in the United States Army so weekend warriors like you could power trip on his family. Do you understand who you're messing with?" And the camera shows Sergeant Vasquez handing him the citation, her hand remarkably steady. "Sir, you'll receive a court date by mail. Please drive safely." And what does Derek do? What does this fine example of American youth do? He snatches the paper from her hand, crumples it into a ball, and throws it on the ground at her feet. "This isn't over," he says, jabbing his finger toward her face. "Not even close." I signal for the footage to be paused, and there it is, frozen on screen, Derek's face twisted in rage. His finger inches from Sergeant Vasquez's face, the crumpled citation on the ground between them. I remove my glasses slowly, I set them on the bench, and I look at this young man sitting in my courtroom. "Mr. Hartwell, you just watched yourself threaten a federal officer, attempt to use your father's credentials to evade lawful detention, and demonstrate complete contempt for military authority. Do you have anything to say?" And what does he say? "Oh, this is rich." He shifts in his chair, some of his earlier confidence draining away finally, and he says, "Your Honor, that video doesn't show the full context. She was antagonizing me from the beginning. She had an attitude. She had an attitude. She." My voice cuts through his excuse like ice. "Mr. Hartwell, I watched the same footage you did. Sergeant Vasquez was nothing but professional while you behaved like a spoiled child throwing a tantrum because someone dared to hold you accountable." I turn to the prosecution table. "I'd like to hear from Sergeant Vasquez directly. Is she available to testify?" The prosecutor nods and calls her name. The courtroom doors open, and Sergeant Elena Vasquez enters in her dress uniform, her posture straight, her face composed, but showing the emotional weight of the past weeks. You can see it on her. The toll this has taken on a woman who did nothing but her duty. She takes the witness stand. She raises her right hand. She swears to tell the truth. And my expression softens just slightly, a rare moment, I'll admit. But this woman deserves it. "Sergeant Vasquez, thank you for being here today. Can you tell the court about your career in the military police?" And she speaks clearly, her voice strong despite the difficulty of the situation. "Your Honor, I've served 12 years in the military police. I've completed 3 deployments overseas, received 2 commendations for exemplary service, and maintained a spotless disciplinary record. I'm a single mother of 2 children who live with me on base. My job is to keep our military community safe, to enforce the rules that protect everyone equally, regardless of rank or family connections. That night on March 8th, I was simply doing my job. 12 years. 3 deployments, 2 commendations, a single mother. And this boy, this 22-year-old boy, tried to destroy her career because she wrote him a traffic citation." I nod encouragingly. "What happened after you issued the citation?" And this is where it gets hard to listen to, people. Sergeant Vasquez's composure cracks slightly. Her voice tightens with emotion. "Within 24 hours, I was called into my commanding officer's office. There were questions about my conduct, my judgment during the traffic stop, whether I had been unnecessarily aggressive or shown bias. I felt like I was being investigated for doing exactly what I was trained to do. For 3 weeks, I didn't know if my career was over because I had dared to hold someone accountable. 3 weeks of uncertainty. 3 weeks of fear. 3 weeks of wondering if her 12-year career was finished because some rich kid made a phone call. My jaw tightens. Did you ever consider tearing up that citation to avoid the harassment?" And Sergeant Vasquez, she meets my eyes directly. "No hesitation. No wavering. Not for 1 second, Your Honor. Because if I had, what would that teach my children? What would it teach every service member who saw me back down? That rules only apply to some people? That threats work if they come from the right family? I took an oath to uphold the law, and that oath doesn't have exceptions for inconvenient situations." The courtroom erupts in scattered applause before the bailiff calls for order. And Derek? He slouches lower in his chair, his earlier arrogance completely evaporated. I thank Sergeant Vasquez and allow her to step down, but before she can return to her seat, the courtroom doors open again. And a man enters in full dress uniform, his chest covered in medals and ribbons that represent decades of service and sacrifice. The 4 stars on his shoulders catch the light, and the entire courtroom instinctively rises to attention. General Marcus Hartwell walks down the center aisle, his face a mask of controlled emotion, and Derek's face, it drains of all color. "Dad," he whispers, barely audible, but the general, he doesn't look at his son. He approaches my bench and addresses me with crisp military precision. "Your Honor, I apologize for the interruption. I'm General Marcus Hartwell, United States Army Chief of Staff, and I'm here regarding the case against my son." I gesture to a seat in the front row. "General, you're welcome to observe, but I won't discuss the case outside the record." And General Hartwell remains standing. "I understand, Your Honor. I'm not here to interfere or request leniency. I'm here to ensure my son receives no special treatment whatsoever because of my position." Let me say that again for the people in the back: no special treatment. His own father. In fact, the general continues, I'm here to state publicly that his actions are a disgrace to everything I've spent my career building. And then he turns to face Derek for the first time, and his voice is cold, measured, the voice of a man who has commanded armies. "Stand up," Derek slowly rises. His legs are visibly shaking. "You will address me as General Hartwell. You haven't earned the right to call me Dad right now?" Oh, can you imagine hearing those words from your own father? In a packed courtroom. What you did doesn't just reflect on you. It reflects on every soldier who's ever worn this uniform. On every military family that lives by the values of honor and integrity. General Hartwell's words hang in the air like smoke from a battlefield. Derek stands frozen, his face pale, his earlier bravado completely shattered. The general continues, his voice carrying the authority of 3 decades of command. "Your Honor, I want to be absolutely clear. My son will receive no financial assistance from me for any fines imposed by this court. He will have no access to family resources. No safety net. No bailout. He's 22 years old. Legally an adult. And he will face these consequences as an adult. And then this 4-star general, this man who commands the entire United States Army, turns to face Sergeant Vasquez. And she stands immediately, coming to attention. "Sergeant, you did your duty with honor and professionalism. My son's attempt to weaponize my rank against you is an insult to everything the uniform represents. Thank you for your service, and I'm sorry you had to endure the aftermath of his actions." Sergeant Vasquez salutes, tears visible in her eyes, but her voice steady as a rock. "No apology necessary, sir. I was doing my job." General Hartwell returns the salute, then takes his seat in the front row, his back ramrod straight, his eyes forward. He doesn't look at Derek again. I wait for the moment to settle. Then I turn my attention back to the defendant. "Mr. Hartwell, sit down." Derek collapses into his chair like a puppet with cut strings. I pick up my pen and begin writing, the scratch of ink on paper. The only sound in that courtroom. Let me tell you, you could hear a pin drop. After what feels like an eternity, I set the pen down and I look directly at Derek Hartwell. "Mr. Hartwell, I've been on this bench for many years. I've seen entitled defendants before, people who think money or connections put them above the law. But your case? Your case is particularly troubling. Because you didn't just break traffic laws. You attempted to corrupt the entire system of military justice. You used your father's rank as a weapon against someone who was simply doing her job. You threatened a decorated service member's career because she refused to give you special treatment. And based on your testimony and attitude today, you still don't fully understand why that's wrong." Derek opens his mouth to speak, but I raise my hand. "I'm not finished. Your father spent 35 years earning his rank through sacrifice, through leadership, through dedication to protecting this country. And you You spent 30 seconds trying to use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. That ends today. I pick up my prepared sentencing document, and let me tell you, people, every word that comes next. I meant it with every fiber of my being. For the charge of reckless driving at nearly twice the speed limit in a residential area near a military installation, I'm fining you $10,000. For threatening and attempting to intimidate a federal officer in the lawful performance of her duties, an additional $15,000. For unauthorized use and display of military credentials not issued to you, $2,500. Total financial penalty, $27,500. To be paid from your personal employment income only. Your bank statements will be reviewed by this court. Any deposit from family members will void this arrangement, and I will impose the maximum jail sentence allowed by law. Do you understand? Derek nods weakly, unable to speak. Good. Furthermore, your driving privileges are suspended for 3 full years. No hardship exemptions. No work permits. No special circumstances. You'll use public transportation like millions of Americans do every single day. Additionally, you are sentenced to 150 hours of community service. To be served at the Fort Bragg Military Police Station under the direct supervision of Sergeant Elena Vasquez. Oh yes, you heard me right. You will report every Saturday and Sunday morning at 6 a.m. for 8-hour shifts. You will clean vehicles. You will organize equipment. You will assist with traffic safety education programs. You will learn what it means to serve rather than to be served. Derek's voice cracks as he tries to protest. Your Honor, please. Working under her supervision. She hates me. And my response? Swift and sharp. Sergeant Vasquez doesn't hate you, Mr. Hartwell. She doesn't know you well enough to hate you. But by the time you complete your sentence, she'll know exactly what kind of man you choose to become. That's up to you. But I'm not done yet, people. Oh no, I'm not done. You will also complete a speaking tour at 10 military bases, ROTC programs, and high schools with military families. You'll present on the topic of privilege, accountability, and what happens when someone mistakes inherited status for personal character. Your presentations will include the body camera footage we watched today. No scripts, no polish. Just honest accountability. I lean forward now, my final words measured and deliberate. Mr. Hartwell, you walked into this courtroom thinking your father's stars made you untouchable. You're leaving with a suspended license, $27,000 in fines, 150 hours of service under the woman you tried to destroy, and the knowledge that your father, the man whose rank you exploited, is ashamed of you. Justice doesn't salute, Mr. Hartwell. It doesn't care about your last name or your connections. It only cares about your actions. Crack! The gavel comes down, sharp, echoing through that silent courtroom. Case closed. Derek is led out by the bailiff, his head down, his expensive boots shuffling against the floor. General Hartwell, he doesn't turn to watch him go. Sergeant Vasquez stands tall, vindicated. And I close the file on Derek James Hartwell, another entitled defendant who learned that in my courtroom, privilege means nothing and accountability means everything. 6 months later, Derek completes his final community service shift. Sergeant Vasquez signs off on his paperwork without fanfare. He's different now, quieter, humbler. Though whether the change is real or just survival instinct, that remains to be seen. His father still hasn't spoken to him privately. That relationship, like respect itself, will have to be earned back, one honest action at a time. Let me leave you with this, people. Some badges can't be borrowed. Some lessons can't be bought. And some prices? Some prices must be paid in full.